Maybe you think you know the story of Bartimaeus, a blind man who cried out for Jesus and was healed. The end, right? Wrong. What few know is that behind that desperate cry lay a story marked by injustice, war, betrayal, pain, and faith. Real faith. Not the kind you just talk about. We're talking about a man who lost everything. His father, his vision, his identity, his future, but who still had the courage to defy the crowd, break with the past, and cast aside what held him back. This isn't just a healing. It's a spiritual revolution. Now, pay attention. What if I told you the story isn't just about Bartimaeus? That, in some way, it mirrors exactly what you're experiencing right now? Because, like him, maybe you're on the margins, feeling like no one's listening, carrying an invisible cloak that screams, you're no longer useful, swallowing the silence of your own dreams. And worst of all, many people have already resigned themselves to this. But Bartimaeus shows the opposite, that there is indeed a new beginning, that you can see again, that you can rise again, and best of all, that Jesus is still passing by today. So stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear now could turn a wrench in your brain. It might even make you throw away the cloaks you've been carrying for too long. And before anything else, take a deep breath, because the true story of Bartimaeus is just beginning. Bartimaeus grew up surrounded by stories of courage, bravery, and faith. His father, Timaeus, wasn't just a soldier. He was a living legend, one of those men who led with a heart aflame with a greater purpose. At home, stories of war weren't about destruction, but about endurance, honor, and trust in God. Just imagine the impact this had on a boy, growing up believing that nothing is impossible when you have faith and determination. But life doesn't always follow the dreams we build in silence, and Bartimaeus' downfall was as swift as it was cruel. In the blink of an eye, everything turned to darkness. Literally, Timaeus was killed in combat trying to protect his people, and Bartimaeus, still young, was accused of conspiracy against the Roman Empire. Without evidence, without a chance to defend himself, he was condemned to blindness. And then comes the brutality of the system. The Romans not only took away his sight, but also his right to dream. Can you imagine? From son of a hero to prisoner with no future. What was once hope now turned to dust on the ground of Jericho. Bartimaeus, who should have inherited his father's sword, inherited darkness. And here's the thing. Life sometimes completely dismantles us. You can be the most prepared person in the world, with solid values, and yet everything falls apart without warning. It can happen to a businessman who loses everything overnight, to a mother who sees her son fall ill, to someone who sees their marriage crumble despite having done everything right. Bartimaeus shows that falling isn't a sign of weakness. It's just the beginning of a bigger story. But to understand this, we need to look at what symbolized a new place where he fell. The cape. And that's where things begin to change. Bartimaeus' cape was more than just an old cloth thrown over his shoulders. It was, in fact, the official record of his fall. Back then, begging was a regulated activity, and whoever received this authorization received a cape that told society. This one has lost everything. What shielded him from the cold also stripped him of his dignity. Imagine carrying on your back, every day, a public reminder of your own pain. It was as if every thread of that cloak said, you no longer belong to the world of those who produce, build, and dream. Now you are the invisible. And no one questioned it. But that same cloak, however humiliating, also represented survival. It was what allowed Bartimaeus to continue existing. He no longer had a name, a role, or a purpose, but he had the cloak. It was his only document, his license to remain there, asking, waiting, breathing. It seems contradictory, but pain sometimes becomes shelter. Many people today live under modern cloaks. A job they hate but pays the bills, a relationship that hurts but provides status, a routine that imprisons but feels safe. We cling even to what hurts, as long as it offers some kind of control. But there's a detail here. Bartimaeus was still the son of Timaeus. That cloak could hide who he was, but it couldn't completely erase who he was. And that goes for you too. Sometimes we let circumstances define our identity, when in reality, we are much more than what we were made to live. The most dangerous thing is wearing the cloak. It's believing it sums us up, Bartimaeus stayed there for years, marginalized, stigmatized, until something or someone reminded him that another life was possible. And it started with something he could still do: listen, even plunge into darkness. Bartimaeus never lost his ability to see. And see, this is no cheap metaphor. It's a profound reality. He didn't see with his eyes, but with something the Romans couldn't tear away: his spirit. The echoes of the stories his father told still vibrated within him. Memories of miracles, of improbable victories, of a God who walked with the little ones. All of this fueled a faith that withstood time, pain, and abandonment. Bartimaeus might have been sitting by the side of the road, but inside, something within him remained steadfast. It was because of this silent faith that he began to pay attention to the rumors. People came from far away talking about a man who healed the blind, made the paralyzed walk, and raised the dead. And it wasn't just any healer. It was Jesus of Nazareth. It didn't sound like a fabrication. Inside Bartimaeus, the pieces began to fall into place. This is a Messiah my father said would come. This is the Son of David. It wasn't just about a miracle. It was about redemption. And look how crazy. Even blind, he recognized what many religious leaders of the time, with all their sight, couldn't see. Now, stop and think. How many times do we wait for life to get better before we start believing? Bartimaeus did the opposite. He believed before he even saw. And it's this kind of faith that changes everything. Today, we call it spiritual vision. That ability to believe in the unseen, to cling to a greater purpose even when the situation is complete chaos. It's the unemployed guy who continues to prepare for an opportunity that hasn't even arrived yet. It's the betrayed woman who decides to heal, even without the guarantee of new love. Bartimaeus did this, and the day his faith left the unseen and became action. Well, that day came faster than he expected. What happened in Jericho, that day was more than a miracle. It was an act of spiritual daring. Bartimaeus heard the hubbub, sensed the crowd, and knew Jesus was passing by. And what did he do? He shouted, loudly, fearlessly, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." It may seem simple, but this cry was a declaration of war against silence, against exclusion, against everything the world said he was. And, above all, it was a declaration of faith. By calling Jesus Son of David, Bartimaeus wasn't asking for a handout. He was proclaiming, "I know who you are, and I know what you can do." But it didn't stop there. When Jesus sent for him, Bartimaeus did something that would completely change the course of history. He threw away his cloak. That's right, that cloth that carried his identity as an outcast, that gave him the right to beg, that protected him from the indifference of others. He threw it to the ground. And look how powerful. He hadn't been healed yet. He was still blind. But he was already acting as if he believed in healing. This is the difference between ordinary faith and bold faith. It's like someone quitting a job before they even have another one in mind, trusting that God is already moving the pieces, not out of recklessness, but through guidance. This gesture by Bartimaeus was a silent but powerful renunciation. How many cloaks do you carry around? Cloaks that provide some kind of emotional survival, but also imprison you? Sometimes an addiction to control, a fear of rejection, or even pride disguised as independence can be these cloaks. Bartimaeus teaches us that to experience anew, we must cast aside the old, even if we are still in the dark. And it was like this, stripped of his old identity, that he approached Jesus. And what happened next changed everything. Bartimaeus stands before Jesus. The crowd, which seconds before it told him to shut up, now makes way and even encourages him. Look at the contrast. The same people who ignored him now say, "Take heart, he's calling you." When Jesus asks, "What do you want me to do for you?" it's as if time stands still. Not because Jesus didn't know the answer, but because he wanted Bartimaeus to express, with his mouth, what his heart was already crying out for. "That I may see," he responds. Simple, direct, without beating around the bush. And, at the same time, profoundly transformative. This request carries more than a desire for physical sight. It's a cry for meaning. It's as if Bartimaeus is saying, "Give me a new life, Because the old one no longer serves me. He didn't just want to see, he wanted to truly live. Jesus' answer also comes with no beating around the bush. Go, your faith has saved you. See, Jesus didn't say healed you, but saved you. Because that moment wasn't just a miracle of the cornea, retina, and optic nerve. It was a miracle of the soul, of identity, of purpose. Bartimaeus was, in that instant, being repositioned in the divine plan. And here comes something few realize. Choice. Bartimaeus wasn't pushed. He decided to get up. He decided to throw off his cloak. He decided to scream. He decided to go to Jesus. And now, after being healed, he decides to follow. How many times do we receive something incredible, but choose to return to our old life? He didn't. He didn't return to the same place. He didn't put his cloak back on. He didn't look back. He followed. Because true faith doesn't end with a blessing. It begins with it. It was by following Jesus that Bartimaeus found something even deeper than sight. He found the path, and that path leads directly to the next point. Bartimaeus was healed, yes, but what truly changed his story was a decision not to return to the same place. He could have returned to Jericho, shown everyone that he could now see, and started new life within the system that excluded him. But no, he decided to follow Jesus along the way. This isn't just a geographical point. It's a spiritual choice. Bartimaeus was no longer the blind man on the sidelines. He was a disciple on the move. And this detail is precious. He didn't just stand there giving thanks. He walked. Because true gratitude generates action, not complacency. And here comes a powerful mirror for our own lives. How often do we experience moments of restoration, of blessings, of answers, and yet remain in the same emotional, spiritual, and professional place? Transformation requires more than miracles. It requires movement. Bartimaeus didn't seek comfort. He sought purpose. He understood that the miracle was just the beginning. And this new journey is what many today call the path of salvation. Not a perfect path without obstacles, but a path with direction. And direction changes everything. Now, take a deep breath and think with me. What path have you chosen after your encounters with God? Are you moving forward, or are you stuck in the same place, looking back? Because the cloak is behind you. The cry has already been given. Healing has arrived. What's missing now is your decision to walk. And deep down, this is the invitation Bartimaeus leaves for all of us. True salvation isn't just about leaving the margins. It's about choosing to follow a new path day after day, step by step. And that's exactly where Bartimaeus' story connects with ours. But before you follow that path, there's something very important you need to hear. Now tell me, how many cloaks do you still carry? How many identities have been placed upon you that, deep down, no longer even represent you? Bartimaeus teaches us that you don't need to see with your eyes, to see with your spirit. That even on the margins, even hurt, even labeled, you can still have faith. But true faith, the kind that screams in the midst of chaos, that doesn't care who tells it to be quiet, and that is ready to abandon the old before even seeing the new. And you, are you ready for this? Are you ready to throw away your cloak before seeing the miracle happen? The time has come to look within and ask, what has been keeping you on the margins? What label have you accepted without question? What do you need to abandon today to finally follow your path of purpose? Because Bartimaeus' life didn't change just because Jesus passed by. It changed because he had the courage to respond. And perhaps what's missing in your life isn't more prayer, more reading, more study. Perhaps it's more determination. The next step is yours. And when you take it, you'll realize that Jesus continues to hear every cry that comes from a sincere heart. If this message touched you, do this. Comment below which cover you need to leave behind. Subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and share this video with someone who is also on the margins waiting for a change. Because those who have faith have a voice. And those who have a voice never go unnoticed by Jesus.